Good morning, guys. It's been a few days since the last video. Got a bunch of stuff to do today. Starting off in the garage here, just took the trash can in. Figured I'd update you on some stuff that's going on. Let me show you one thing I found here that freaked me out at first. Oh, quick update on the car. The new hub assembly with the ABS sensor built in is on the way. It should be here tomorrow. So we'll throw that on real quick. So I was down here and I noticed the other day a little bit of water. It was puddled. You can see the remnants of it drying up under here. So this was right after I had done some work. I just refilled the salt in the water softener and looked it up, figured out exactly how they work. I was curious because I never had one. Basically, I didn't know if the salt ran through and that's what gave the sliminess to the water. No, nothing like that. The salt is actually used to wash the filter. You've got this huge filter in here and it uses some kind of what's called resin. And I guess that's kind of like the filter. So the water runs through that and all the crap in the water sticks to it. The salt gets used to create a brine. So apparently every day, and I think it's set right now to 2 a.m., everything I find just has the time. So I believe it's once a day. But what it does is it floods this compartment partially with water directly from, the main and lets it sit in there for a little bit. So it creates salty water. That's called the brine. And then it sucks it back out and runs it through the filter, flushes all the crap that's accumulated off of it and goes over to the sink, or it might go to your drain. And then that stays dry and that's it. So that's how the water softener works. And I noticed that I had salt down at the end and it really hadn't moved since we moved in. And what had happened was it created what's called a salt bridge. Basically, it was just, it was locked there and the water wasn't really reaching it to dissolve it. So it wasn't softening the water. I noticed it in the shower. Usually after my shower, it's a little slimy. You get that softened water feel. And I wasn't getting that. It felt like our old house. So something was up. Anyway, it took 200 pounds to fill it up. And, you can see it just barely came up to the top level. And that was in addition to the little bit that was in there. But once I started pouring it in, it kind of went. So, there was a big air gap here underneath whatever I could see at the bottom of the tank. So if it was completely empty, probably would have taken 6 bags worth. They're 40-pound bags that I put in. And I put in the yellow, I think they called it Pure and Clean. So it helps keep all your appliances like your dishwasher and your hot water tank and all that clean for longer. And that was definitely what most people around here use. I went to Lowe's and educated myself on the different salts too, because there's different bags you can buy. And it was like 4 to 1, the pallets that were set up for that type of salt versus the others. So worked out pretty good, super cheap. I didn't know it was this inexpensive. Basically, it's going to cost me about $35 a year in salt. Well, whoop-de-doo. You can see it's reading 315 days to empty, so I'll have to put in another couple bags to go the whole year, but that's that. So my first thought was, wow, is it leaking? No, it's not. So my next action was to figure out where the water's coming from. And I've got the drain line there, that one coming straight down right here, and that's the pressure relief for the hot water tank. And of course, you guys saw the other day, or the other week now, I had finally loosened this up. I don't think it had ever been tested, or at least not in many years, and was stuck. Well, now I'm wondering, is it stuck open a little bit? So I put some paper towel, fully dried everything, first of all. Couldn't see anything actively leaking, so I put some paper towel underneath that, and sure enough, it was wet the next morning. So, okay, that's where the water's coming from. I've never seen it actively dripping, so it's not like a solid leak. So maybe it's just getting up to temp and, has a little burst of pressure or something like that. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I need to replace this. Well, not really worth putting too much money into it because it is an older unit, and if I'm going to put any money into it, I'm just going to replace the thing. But then I found this. So I was moving this out of the way to get the stuff. See that rust ring there? That was there before we bought the house. That was from the loads of paint cans that were stacked up here before we bought the house. So this has been happening before we bought the house, which means it's nothing I need to worry about because it doesn't get any worse than that. It just, spits out a little bit of water. That's it. So, phew, not a big deal. But if it does get worse or I see an active leak or anything like that, this thing is gone and I'll throw in a new one. Not a big deal whatsoever. We got, one electrical line, 2 water lines, and a gas line. It's easier than putting in the stove and not too expensive. Quick note about the Echo Dots. I've got the old Series 2 out here that was in the kitchen/living room. I bought the Series 3, the new one, and put that in there because it's supposed to have better sound, right? Well, it has different sound, I'll give it that. I believe today my mount for this comes in. It's integrated into the outlet, so the dot will just go right here flush on the wall. No more cable and wall wart. It just sits like that. Looks like a nightlight or an air freshener. So that'll be cool. No more cords strung around here. But let me tell you what, these things are perfect. I love these things. Okay, great sound for voice. So actually, Alexa's voice that comes through, see, very sensitive too. That's what I'm gonna get to in a second. Her voice that comes through, news, talk, radio, all the daily updates. I mean, it sounds perfect. It's beautiful. It's more volume than I need, certainly in a house. It's actually pretty darn good volume out here. Now I do have it pretty much permanently connected to the Bluetooth speaker on here. This just stays on all the time. These two are paired. So, whenever I tell her to do anything, it comes out of here. So it's perfect. But the mics, they're flawless. I mean, you can just say Alexa or whatever your trigger word is in natural speaking volume and normal sentences, and it just works. All right. I thought that was the norm. I love it. The 3rd generation absolutely sucks. It's terrible, especially in an echoey room. So here's the 3rd generation. I put it here in the bedroom because it's the least echoey location. I don't want it in my office. It does not work right in the kitchen, and I don't want to give up the sensitivity in the garage. But it is day and night worse. You have to repeat yourself. It doesn't pick you up. You can't speak so naturally. You have to leave a pause. It is noticeably less sensitive and efficient in the mic. I mean, it's a day and night difference between the 2 and the 3. We thought, are we mumbling? Did we do something differently? I put it in the exact same spot as the Series 2, and it just doesn't work as well. It's not even that much better sound. It's not that it has more bass. There's a treble and bass slider in the app for any of the devices, and it just sounds like you cranked up all the way to the bass side on a Series 2. That's really it. It's no louder. It's almost like a muffled bass. So I like the Series 2 a lot better. I got this on Black Friday for basically nothing, so it's barely good enough for the bedroom, and it works well enough where we can be in the shower and it'll pick us up. So it's good enough right here, but that's it. That's the only room that this particular Series 3 is working for us. If we add another one, maybe I'll put this in a guest room or something if I get another Series 2. But any of the Series 2, I highly recommend. I would suggest staying away from the Series 3. Just for reference, here is where the one in the kitchen/living room lives. So it's central in location. We can be anywhere in the kitchen, anywhere here in the living room. Obviously a much more cavernous space, and it does have a lot more echo, but Alexa picks it up no problemo. And the Series 3 just doesn't do that. You have to say, Alexa, and even then, sometimes it doesn't pick it up. So the project for tonight, as soon as the wife gets home in another hour or so, is I'm gonna remount the TV. I gotta take everything off. I'm gonna drop it and close that gap because this new center speaker is obviously smaller than the old, and I'll be able to drop it a full 6 inches to bring it right down to the deck here. I leave myself just a little bit of a gap, and that will look a lot cleaner. Won't make that big of a difference to the viewing angle, but yeah, I just stare at that every single time I look up at the TV. I see that gap that I could never see before, And of course the wire, which I couldn't really see before. The old TV came down to about there, which wasn't bad. And this was in shadow when it was hanging down that low, so you really couldn't see it. But oh, it's just bugging me. I do not want to do this, so I have to not only take the TV down, but oh, this is just, ooh, it's risky, man. It's risky. This thing is 100 freaking pounds. The wife can barely lift up her end. It's on 4 hooks. So you have to pick up the TV, lift the hooks off the 2 rails, and then set the TV down. Carrying the TV is no problem for her, but you know, it's up there and she's not as tall as me, so she's at full extension to lift 50 pounds over her head safely and then bring it down. And this has already been up and down twice. Every time is a risk, and I just don't like it. But at least going up, it'll be 6 inches easier for her. It'll definitely make a difference. So then after that's off, I've just got this felt on here with Velcro. And I'll be able to take the mount off the TV. All I do is I've got self-adhesive Velcro on here, and I put the hook end on the TV, and it automatically sticks to the felt. So it's just super easy. I did the same thing on the walls. I just got 4 little dots of the hook side for that. But I've got the whole battery backup unit. I'll have to remount that, probably above now, because I gotta take the entire wood bracket that I've got to the studs off with the 6 lag bolts, and I'll have to put new ones in 6 inches lower, and then everything will mount to that. So everything's got to get redone. I don't mind any of the work except the risk of moving the TV. I wish I could do it myself. I could barely do the plasma. The plasma is only 80 pounds, and I got that up and down alone. But I can't do this. It's just too big, too awkward. I can't even span it with my hands. The plasma, I barely could, but not that big of a guy. So here's a little tip. Once you've got your speakers in the perfect position, if you care about that kind of thing, you're inevitably going to have to move them, or maybe they'll accidentally get moved in the future, to save yourself the incredible time and hassle of getting them perfectly realigned. If you've got hardwood, vinyl, concrete, tile, whatever, it's super easy just to put a little piece of electrical tape down behind the speakers on the floor at 2 of the corners precisely. And that way you can just drop them back into place. Or if you've got stands, even easier, put them under the floor underneath the stand so you can put the corners right back in place. No one will ever see it. Bing, bang, boom. If you've got carpet, you know, you can do other stuff. Put a little pin marker or something underneath or right behind where you can't see it. Something that won't be moved if the speakers accidentally get moved. Or if that's not convenient, just take precise measurements from distinct points. However you need to do it to get everything back in the same place. Now you can see where my couch ended up from the final speaker tuning, just for the listening position, and obviously it's a big gap going back to the wall here. It was just about even with the carpet there, so I moved it another foot. It's about 2.5 feet in its final position, and it took the wife a couple days to notice. I almost got away with it. Yeah, she goes, "That couch is not staying there." I said, "Oh, yes, it is." I'm not budging on that. So we compromised on putting something behind the couch, like some nice fake plants or something. I said, "That's fine. I have no problem with that." In fact, that helps the sound, diffusing anything hitting the wall. So I'm all for that. So tonight, after we're done with the TV, I'm going to suggest we go over to Michael's and maybe IKEA if we don't find anything at Michael's for the plants. Michael's Crafts, by the way, if you're looking for fake plants, has really good quality stuff. They do tend to be very expensive at regular prices, so make sure you look for their coupons and catch their sales. I've got a bunch that I use outside there for my set, and I caught a 50% off sale. Saved a whole bunch, but they are some of the highest quality that unless you get right up to them, they can look real, depending on which ones you get. So I'm all for those. Don't know, what would look nice. I'll pretty much leave that up to her. I don't really care. I'm fine with it as is, but hey, I'm all for plants. If she likes that, that's cool. So we'll probably head out tonight after we get done with the TV and see if we can find something cool. You don't really realize how big the TV is until you put it in context. It's bigger than our couch. So that should do it. Fourth time's a charm. Second bracket, third location. The way I've got it, because my studs are at the outside edges and one down the center, I can't mount the bracket directly to the wall, so that's why I've got this board here. That's my interim mounting. So I've got 6 lag bolts in, 2 on each side and then 2 in the center underneath the bracket. And then the bracket is lag bolted to the board up at the top corners there. I put that up above where it was down below and trimmed my center cable up while I was in here. Should be good now to remount the TV and just remount my felt. You can see how I've got the Velcro dots on there and it just grabs it nice and clean. And yep, it's taking off the paint every time I take it off the wall, but who cares? You don't see anything back here. That's what I'm talking about. Much, much better. Now I can look at it and not go crazy. Alexa, movie time. Clean that gap right up. Oh, you know, I didn't amend it to turn back on the theater. It just turns the lights off. Hold on. I didn't have the new hardware programmed into my routines from when I switched everything out. Let's try it again. Alexa, movie time. That's better. There's a slight delay as the switch is made from SDR to HDR, and we're up and running. I found a 50% off Michael's coupon per person per item, so we're gonna go check out trees tomorrow. Possibly now gonna put shorter stuff there, and the wife wants a table, or I'm thinking like 3 tables because that's awfully wide, and it's gotta be awfully short because it's a short couch. If you put a normal sideboard table there, it would come up above the couch, and that's really ugly. So it's gotta be like 2.5 feet, and then we can put small potted type plants, but we'll figure something out. See you guys next time.